taking me home. One thing really do one.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys the easiest way to clean your makeup brushes and what makes sense. Now, what I do is I'll take warm water and a little bit of the Dawn dishwashing soap, and I'll put it into a container and put just a little bit in there. And this is how we're going to start out with washing our makeup brushes. Here are all of my dirty makeup brushes. So this is what we're going to use. I'll take and start off with a little bit of warm water and go ahead and get the first rinse of them out. So you'll already see some of the dirt and stuff coming out just from rinsing it with water. And then I'll go in to the soap mixture and I'll let that sit for my sponges. Now for my actual brushes, I'm going to show you guys a few different ways that I like to wash them. I always start out with rinsing them off first. And then I'll take in the mixture. I don't use this mixture often, but it's just a way to go ahead and start to see how much dirt and stuff is already coming out of them. I use that just to go ahead and start the process. And that's a pretty easy way to start the mixture of washing your brushes. And then I'll take the Dawn dishwashing soap directly on the brush, and I'll just work that into the actual brush. And put it down to the side because it's going to sit there. Now, this is what I use to actually clean my brushes. This little pot pan thing, it's a pot holder, but I got it from Target for like $2.98. The grooves on it work perfectly to go in and scrub the brushes. The best soap to clean your makeup brushes are going to be soap that you guys get from the hotels. So no matter what hotel you're staying at, just go ahead and grab the actual soap, and that really works well with your brushes. So I'm going to use the Paul Mitchell soap to actually show you guys what I'm talking about. Another great soap for you guys to use with your sponges and brushes is the SIGMAGIC brush shampoo. You guys have already seen me haul and use this. This is one of my favorite ones. The next one are going to be the Alori collection, their brand of soaps. These are just 2 scents that I really like. The Rich Mahogany and the Dark Water. These smell amazing and they have your makeup brushes smelling really well. Because I am a working makeup artist, I still book gigs throughout the year. Before I go to any of my clients, I'll wash all of my brushes that I'm taking to that actual photo shoot or event and wash the brushes with this. So that way as I'm doing their face, it's part of the experience to actually do it. I'll take you guys with me one day. And the BeautyBlender, the liquid BeautyBlender cleanser is an amazing brush soap to wash your sponges and also your actual brushes. So this is one I love to use. And Zote. Zote is going to be your next best friend when it comes to cleaning and doing your makeup brushes. I just keep it in a little container like this so it always dries out. As you can tell, I've really used my Zote soap and I just pretty much just take and rub it across there. I'm going to show you guys the different ways to actually use it. So with the Dawn dishwashing detergent, if it works on baked on grease to clean the dishes in your kitchen, it works amazing on your brushes. You don't want to use this on natural hair, squirrel hair, goat hair brushes because it can be drying and damaging to those brushes. You want to use something more moisturizing like the Alori brush shampoo if you're cleaning those type of brushes. But this for your everyday synthetic multi-fiber, like it's mixed with a little bit of goat hair or squirrel hair and synthetic bristles. This works amazing. This is going to be your cheapest option outside of you using the hotel soaps that you guys are actually able to use. So I'm going to go ahead and show this to you as well. Okay, that one is broken and cracked, but I'm going to show it to you. So I'll just take the brushes once again Let's move this because we're not ready to actually start cleaning them just yet. But I'll take my brushes. And since I'm done with the Dawn part, let's go ahead and rinse that on out. But I'll take and rinse my brushes out and go ahead and get some of that pigment to moving and getting released from my actual brushes. And then I'll take the soap across the actual brushes. If you can see what I'm doing. And that first work through in the brushes is just to go ahead and start to get it to come out. See how the pigment and stuff is already starting to come out? So I'll work it in there just to get it moving around and to get the pigment to first start to actually release. Work it in there real good, and then I'll take and I'll let these sit. Whenever I'm cleaning my makeup brushes, it's always going to be the exact same thing and the exact same process. They're always going to sit. Next part of my brushes, I'll go ahead and show you guys again, rinse them off. And I also wash my handles and my ferrules as well with the actual soap that's on my fingers. But I start to get them wet. And next thing we'll go ahead and use is the the BeautyBlender liquid cleanser. And you could already see how much makeup is coming off those brushes already. But that first one is just to get in there and work it in and start to loosen up the product that's already in the brushes. And again, I'll put some more on there, like that, and work that in to the brushes and let it sit. Next thing I'm going into is the Alori Collection Dark Water. This is what it looks like. And going into a makeup brush. And with the Alori, because of the way it's made, all you do is just go directly in there. And you'll already see that the makeup is starting to come off. A lot. And as you go in here and squeeze the brush, you'll start to see all that makeup and stuff coming out of the brush. But that's just to get the bristles moving. And then I'll go back in there. Like I told you guys, it's always a double process for me when it comes to my brushes. And now that I got that worked all in there, I'll let it sit, because part of letting your brushes sit is actually allowing the soap just to go in and start to break down your makeup pigment, the binders, and everything within the makeup, whether it's a cream, powder, liquid. Doesn't matter if it's for your face, your base product of your actual face, or if you're talking about any type of eyeshadow brush. Next thing we'll go ahead and get into is the SIGMAGIC brush cleanser. And we'll take and go ahead and rinse off these smaller makeup brushes. And a little bit of the SIGMAGIC on the actual brushes. And I'm working in with my hands first. And you could already see the pigment and stuff starting to come out of the brushes. And I'll go back in here and same thing. Work them in like this and let it sit. Now the last thing I'm going to show you guys for all of the brushes. I can't help it, guys. I always have a towel with me when I'm cleaning. But yeah, OCD, I just can't sit here and look at stuff that's dirty. But with my eyeshadow brushes, these are pretty much easy to clean unless we have some type of baked on pigment. Or pigment just has really got deep into the brushes and now they're starting to stain the brushes. Typically you'll get that with pinks, blues, greens, purples. they like to go in and stain the brushes. So throughout this process, I'll go in and I might have to pull out a little bit of my actual Bioderma to just soak the brushes in to get rid of some of this extra additional pigment. It's one of the easiest things to do with washing and cleaning your brushes. The pigment just starts to come out. That's why I love my Zote Soap when it comes to cleaning my brushes. And this is the little bucket I told you guys that I get from like Target after Christmas when the little buckets go on sale for like 50 cents, 25 cents a bucket. That's when I go get them. It's amazing with actually being able to keep your dirty brushes separate from your actual clean brushes, and it makes it easier when you're transporting them from wherever you do your makeup and bringing them into the area where you clean your brushes. Now I know y'all are gonna be upset that I got the water running, but I'm literally showing you real life, real time, what I actually do with cleaning my makeup brushes. Now getting back in here with the actual sponges. It was just a pre-bath that happened with the sponges, so this isn't actually having the sponge be clean. You can take any soap at this point, it doesn't matter. As long as you went in there and pre-cleaned your sponges and just work them around. This is how I clean my sponges. As you can see all the dirt and makeup starting to come out of the sponge. All I'm doing is just working that soap deep into the sponge and squeezing the pigment out of the sponge. I'll take and go ahead and squeeze most of that out. And I'll go in one more time with the soap and just work that soap back into the actual sponge. And I'll let that sit. Going over here to the next sponge. This sponge wasn't too dirty, so this one won't have to actually sit there and be cleaned 2 or 3 times like that one that had the baked on makeup. But you always want to go ahead and make sure when you're rinsing your sponges, you rinse until you don't see any more of those soap bubbles coming out. So I'll take and squeeze. Yeah, and I know my sponge is broken, but I love this sponge. I have other sponges I could use, of course, obviously, but I just love this huge body sponge from Real Techniques. It works so fast for getting my makeup done, and it blends it flawlessly without adding texture to my base. So I'll squeeze it until I don't see any more soap coming out. And I'm just going to take and just put this one back here for now, because I'm going to show you what else I'm going to do to this. Now we're ready to get in here and start cleaning the actual sponges, the brushes, and I'm doing this with warm water. Then I just take and just do this and make sure all the pigment and everything is out of the actual brush. And I like to go in here and do this to my brushes and spread the bristles apart to make sure I don't see any embedded pigment inside. And then I'll just take and rinse them off. And I'll do this underneath running water to make sure I get clean water into it to get all of the soap out of my brushes. I'm going to show you guys how you can check and see if all the soap is out of your brushes too. But I'll take and I'll do this. This is how I start the drying process with my brushes. As long as any soap doesn't come off, we're good to go. So that's a dry brush. Same thing with the other ones. Now I'm going to just speed through this since you guys pretty much got the gist of it at this point. With makeup brushes, you have to go in there and twist and turn them different directions. Apply a little bit of pressure so you can really get into them and actually pull that pigment deep from inside the actual bristles. This one is going to have to be re-cleaned again. The reason why I waited and allowed my makeup brushes to sit is because I wanted to show you guys what happens when you have product still on your actual brushes. Just go back in with your soap. Any one of your soaps at this point doesn't matter, but go back in there, work it back in, and let it sit. It's not ready yet. Again, I always go through and do this to my brushes to make sure I'm not seeing any pigment or anything left in my brushes. And with fluffier brushes, I'll take and do this to them underneath the water just to make sure I'm getting all the bristles spread, because if you don't, if you guys could see those little bitty bubbles on the inside, deep inside, there's still soap inside the brushes. So that's the reason why I clean them that way. And you can feel the soap on the bristles too, especially if you're doing it underneath running water and you feel something that's a little slip. That's your first clue, is still some soap inside the brush. And I'll take and squeeze the bristles, and I'll do this to them just to make sure I got all of that soap out. Some brushes are easier to clean, like if it's just a highlight brush, there's not going to be much that needs to do with cleaning this one, because it isn't that much product that was put on it or that much product that's in it. See how the soap came out? Now watch this. See that? See how I still got soap in there? So this one needs to be rinsed more. And that's part of the reason why I do and dry my brushes like that. Of course, I get water all over my mirror and stuff when I'm doing this, which is why I have the towel there to go ahead and wipe everything down. Sometimes you can take multiple times in doing this to a brush to make sure you got all the soap out. And when you take and tap your brushes like that, you also speed up the drying process with your actual brushes, because they're already about between 70 and 80% dry at this point, which means I can go in and start using my makeup brushes in about 4 hours. If you're traveling on a trip at a hotel, when you get back from hanging out or whatever, if you hadn't already washed your brushes before you went out, wash your brushes before you go to bed. And by the time you wake up the next day and you're ready to start, doing your makeup again, your brushes are clean, dry, and ready. Take and squeeze, tap off. Clean. I still got a little soap in this one, and you can see the soap right here at the top a little bit with it. When you're looking at your brushes, if it still has those little hard peaks, that means you still have soap in it. Go back in and rinse. And I know somebody's gonna say something about the water running, but realistically in real life, this is how you do it. When you see people on videos and they stop and do that in between cleaning each brush, dude, it's just not realistic. It's really not. And I don't take and clean a whole bunch of brushes and let them sit in the sink, because I don't want too much water to get into my ferrule. So that's the reason why I go in and clean them one at a time. Now back to this actual sponge. Getting just the last little bit of the makeup out of it. And you can take and just rub it here. And that'll help push out the rest of the makeup that may have been in the sponge. And that's a clean sponge. Now, a lot of times when you guys are cleaning your makeup sponges, what you'll notice is they'll start to split. That can happen. Or they'll start to get like a little chunk from where they tear. As long as you can still blend with them and use them, that isn't a problem. As long as you're not working on a client, that's not a problem. If it's just you and your makeup, it shouldn't be a problem or issue. I'm gonna let both of those sit right there because I'm gonna show you guys what else I actually do. Now going in here with these Big Daddy foundation brushes, where it's a lot of foundation that's caked into it because I use high coverage products. You just got to go in here and see how I'm twisting on this side, and I'm taking and twisting, taking and twisting. So I take and twist, scrub, take and twist, scrub, take and twist, scrub. So that way you start to clean the outside of the brushes, and then when I go in head down like this and do this, I'm cleaning the interior ones. So real time, I'm going to show you guys exactly how I clean my foundation brushes. Because most of you guys were telling me that you had a problem getting all of the product out of your foundation and concealer brushes. You just got to go in and agitate the bristles and make sure you're working that soap into the actual bristles. And again, I'll go in there and spread the bristles to make sure it's clean. And that's a clean brush. Part of what makes makeup cleaning days easier for me when it comes to cleaning my brushes is the two-step process I go through with them. The first step is rinsing them off and dunking them into either a solution or putting the cleaner directly on it. So go ahead and start the first part of the cleaning process, rinsing all of that off, and then going back in with more cleaner and just working that in and allowing them to sit. After I've allowed them to sit, see, that's a clean brush. After I've allowed them to sit, then at that point, I can go in here and agitate the rest of the makeup and dirt off of them. Some of my highlighter and blush brushes, I don't have to go in and scrub down there. It's not necessary. They release product pretty well. And it also depends on the type of brush. Now to show you guys with my eyeshadow brushes, how I go in with my eyeshadow brushes. And I always take and I'll rinse this off so that way I don't get foundation or concealer pigment pressed into my actual eyeshadow brushes. But this is what I'll do. Take a handful of them together and just press them down and just clean them like this. And while I'm doing that, the little bit of soap that's on my hands, I actually go across my actual brushes. I'm doing it all in one motion, but I'm just showing it down so I can show you guys. So my handle's clean, my ferrule's clean, and my bristles are clean. That's just the OCD for me. But also, again, I am a working artist, so I do book clients throughout the year from time to time, not too often. Not really my forte, but I'll do it just depending on the event or the person, to be honest. Typically, it's only for very close friends and family that I'll do it. I no longer book like just clients for whatever. And when it comes to these eyeshadow brushes, same thing. Take them, hit them that way, and you'll see clean brushes. And I'll show you how I shape and disinfect them after the cleaning process. This brush is what I use for my concealer, and as you can see, I still have a lot of product inside the actual brush. Take and put it in. And you can see the product starting to come out of the brush. So I'll take and let that one sit. That brush wasn't ready yet. These two brushes right here, the pigment is still stuck in the brushes. Can you guys see that? So they're clean. It's just the pigment is stuck in them. I'm gonna show you how I get rid of loose pigment that still is stuck in brushes and won't release from brushes. I keep my SIGMAGIC brush cleanser tops. And I'll take Bioderma. The stain stuff you use to go ahead and remove the makeup from your face works beautifully. Works beautifully with your actual brushes. I'll take, and I'll put some in here like this. And I'll take the brushes and I'll dunk them. And I'll start to agitate them down and work them around in there. So you can already start to see the pigment is being released. And I'll take and let them sit for just a second. Not too long, just a second. While I go in here with this last little brush to clean it. Same thing, I'm gonna have the same problem with this particular brush. Again, blue, purple, pink, green. That's typically when you're gonna have these problems. See how the bristles are stained? So to the best of my ability, I'll go ahead and put it on in here. And at this point, you're gonna need a makeup towel. You're gonna need a paper towel. I'm gonna show you guys what I do with that paper towel in just a minute. But going back in here to the makeup brushes that had the stains and everything in them, just going in here and agitating and trying to get as much of that product out as possible. Sometimes in foundation brushes, they just, when it gets into the center of the brush, it just won't come out. And in that case, I have to go in with the Bioderma. And I think I'm gonna have to do the Bioderma on this brush. That's why I put so much in that cap, so I can show you guys. Cleaning makeup brushes is just messy. But I want to be able to show you guys this. Hold on. Make sure I get all the soap out. Because typically you want your brush to be as dry as possible when you go into the Bioderma. See the brush? You could already see some of the pigment is right there. Remember I told you guys I like to do this with my bristles so I can go in and see the pigment? Right here. See that pigment? So that lets me know the brush is clean, it's just stained. And I don't like stained brushes. So I'll take these that have been sitting there long enough to go ahead and start to release as much pigment as possible. It won't completely get rid of an actual stain, just depending on how stained the actual brush is. But I'll take that foundation brush and same thing, work it in and agitate it into the Bioderma just to make sure it's getting into the bristles, and I'll let that sit. Now when you do Bioderma or Cinema Secrets, I have Cinema Secrets as well. Bioderma is just something that's quick and easy that I use around here in my bathroom. If I'm on a shoot with the client, then I'll use my Cinema Secrets. But you want to go in with a towel or see how it's starting to come off, see how the pigment's starting to come off, or a paper towel, and just go in there and just work it. And you'll start to see all of that pigment is being released thanks to the Bioderma. Same thing happens with Sigma Secrets. It's just whichever one is, you know, easier for you to get your hands on. But that is a clean brush. Going into the next one. And it's really just pulling off the yellow pigment that stained the top of it. You can barely see it on camera, I know, because it's a white background. But that's a clean brush. And this one, to try to get rid of that greeny blue that's stained into the top, it's not coming off. It's pulling out the pink in the actual pigment. To create the different colors, they mix different pigment colors together. So it's pulling out some of those undertones, but that's a stained brush. It's no cleaning that. So after I do the Bioderma with my brushes, I'll just take and go in. Since this is deep cleaning my brushes, I'll just go in one last time and just do this to them. Because these brushes will be sitting here a while. And when you use Bioderma and Cinema Secrets, that's when you're about to go in and start working again, either on another client, touching up a look, different things, or going into different colors and different things like that. I'm not doing any of that. These are literally deep cleaning my makeup brushes. So these will be sitting until the next time I do my makeup brushes. And there we are, as clean as possible. All of the yellow didn't come out, so that's a stain. I can't do anything with that. That's the blue and green. It pulled out some of the pink, but it will stain. So, and most of the purple came out of this. It just has a little bit of pink left to it, but that's as good as that's gonna get. Now, for this brush that still had makeup in it, I'm hoping that the soap will get the rest of the makeup out of it. If not, I'm gonna have to go into my Bioderma. And no, it won't. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But certain makeup brands, their pigments are just really hard to get out when it comes to your foundations and your concealers. See that? See how I still have product in there? See that? So at this point, I'll go back into the brush that was sitting in my Bioderma, squeeze most of that back out, and go ahead and put this brush in here and agitate and work it around. Now, most of this should have come out. It'll foam up because it's full of Bioderma. And you can see that brown foam. I'm just going in here and agitating and making sure I get everything out of it. It's not soap or anything. That's literally just the Bioderma foaming up inside of the brush. And now I'll go back in and just check my bristles, and we're all clean. And before you go back in with water, when you do Bioderma and Cinema Secrets, you just want to go ahead and make sure any type of pigment that may have been in that brush, you go ahead and get it out first. And then I go on my water just to go ahead and just wash that off. All I did was just dip back into my soap. Because again, this is deep cleaning my brushes. And I don't need anything else sitting on my brushes. Now let's see if this was rinsed well enough for it to make sense. Make sure I don't have any more Bioderma or soap in these bristles, and I don't, it's a clean. And now you can see all clean. No more foundation or pigment or anything in there, and that's really what I'm looking for when cleaning my brushes. Back to this one, working on this concealer. Now I'm gonna show you guys what the solution looks like when it's been went in and pulled all the pigments and binding agents out of the actual bristles. This is what it looks like. See how brown that is? That's just the pigment from your brush. And I'll take and I'll go ahead and squeeze. So that way I'm squeezing anything that's in the brush back out to the top. Go back into a towel. And I'm just going in there and making sure that deep down I got all of that makeup off of my bristles. And that is a clean brush. I don't have any more pigment or anything on the sides of the brushes. That's a clean brush, guys. Same thing. Take and rinse it out. Back on the top of my Bioderma. That's how I store it. All I'm doing is just dipping it in my brush. And I'll take and leave this open to let it dry. Rinse everything off and let it dry. rinse them all off, let them dry. Before I put them back into their container to be put up. The brush container that I have, I'll just take and just rinse it out. Doesn't really have any stains since my brush is already set up like that. Flip it over, let it dry out. Now back into this brush. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the last part of what it looks like to actually go in here and clean and sanitize. Now that you went ahead and did a deep clean with your makeup brushes, using any of the different soaps I've used, any of the techniques I went ahead and showed you guys, I always do that to make sure I'm out of soap. There's no soap on my actual brushes. Now I'm gonna show you guys how I go in here and sanitize the brushes. And the thing I love about this pot holder, all you do is just do this. And all the water just pops right on out. And it's rubber. So that's a really great thing. Pretty much dry. I use 91% Isopropyl Alcohol. I use the Equate brand. It doesn't matter. Whether you guys get this from Target or Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, I always get the 91%. And I had found this little spray makeup bottle, this little spray alcohol bottle. This that's in here isn't the 50% alcohol, it's the 91%. I take and refill this. And this is how I go back in and sanitize my items. I'll go ahead and wipe everything down first. I'll go ahead and wipe everything down, because water is not your friend when it comes to your makeup brushes. That's the quickest way to start to damage your brushes. I always do mine in my bathroom sink. So as I'm getting ready to go in here and sanitize my brushes, I'll go ahead and use just my scrubbing bubbles to go ahead and get rid of that makeup residue inside of my sink. But this is how I sanitize. Take and spray. Let it dry. Spray the outside. Squeeze it one good time. Let it dry. Spray. Squeeze. Let it dry. Same thing with my makeup brushes. Take and spray. Move that around. And I'll go back in one good time and do this to them. Just so you guys can see, and this is how I go in and shape my brushes. So they're deep clean, they've been sanitized, and now I'm just going back in here and just shaping my brushes. You can go ahead and get those little clear little produce things that you can go ahead and put on your brushes to shape them. You don't have to do that if you actually go through this process. Anytime you're laying your makeup brushes down to dry, if you don't have the makeup stand that holds them like this, you want to go ahead and put them to where the water isn't getting into your actual ferrule, and you get 360 rotation for air for the brushes to dry, so that way you don't create a bacteria situation. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how I set those up. Hold on. Let me make this make sense. So I'll take and put something down like this, and I'll take and put the brushes down at an angle. So that way, any and all water actually comes out of my actual bristle, and I have 360 air rotation around them. So when you guys see them sitting in my beauty room and they're sitting on the edge, they've already been in here for a moment before I take and transport them around there. But let's go ahead and get to them. Take and spray. And shape. This one I already sprayed. Yeah, never hurts to spray it again. And shape. And all you do is just follow the natural shape of your brush. Sanitize. Shake that off a little bit. And shape. And when they're dry, to go ahead and break the mold of a brush once you sanitize and shape it, all you have to do is just do this. And it'll flare back out and it'll be super soft, fluffy, and beautiful, just like brand new, ready to use again. Take and shape. Take and shape. Now with these, when I'm shaping fan brushes, I'll take and squeeze them out back into their fan shape and make sure they're flat. Shake, dry. Any type of weird shaped brushes, I'll take and just mash them back into their actual shape and dry. Round brushes are kind of the easiest because it fits right here in your fingers. So that's the easiest one to do. That and pencil brushes. These brushes, super easy. Take and compact them. Let them dry like this. But you have the air coming around your brushes. Okay, pay no attention to her. You better not. So you have the air coming around your brushes so they can actually go ahead and dry. Let's take you in a little closer. So you see them hanging off the actual edge, and that towel gives them elevation. So that way, that's the way your brushes should actually look. Now we're just gonna take and do the rest. Now that I'm done with that, sponges are clean, ready to go for the next time. I'll take my sponges and sit them up on top of the actual brushes. So that way they also have 360 rotation around them to dry, to cut down on mildew. And at the end of the day, all you guys do is just take and just clean your station and everything off. All I'm doing now is just going in here and just taking and cleaning my station off. Wiping everything down with a clean paper towel or your clean rag, whatever makes sense for you guys to go in and do. And again, for the soap, I'll leave this Alori soap open so it can go ahead and dry out before I put the top on it and allow it to go away. And now going in here using that same one so I'm not being wasteful and just cleaning out my mess. Into the trash, rinse down. And now I'll go in and wash my hands at the end. Again, I told you guys how much I love the mahogany teak wood Bath and Body Works. If I can stop touching it. Pay no attention to that. That's just my OCD. I just don't like stuff being messed up. Anyway. And this, my dear hearts, is the end of the video. Here at the end of your makeup brushes all clean and drying and sanitized. Those are all of your items you use to clean them. Looks like a hot mess right now. But this is part of the actual cleaning process. If you guys have any questions or anything else you want to see or know about cleaning and sanitizing makeup brushes, just leave it for me in the comment section below. But you guys already know. Thank you so much for tuning in and coming back to watch me. Don't care when you watch me in the morning, evening, late at night. Just whenever you choose to come back and watch your girl. I'm happy that you chose to come spend some time with me. Thank you so much, YouTube, and happy holidays. Bye.